Johnny, I am your father.
Excuse me, what now?
I am your father?
Excuse me, but nope. If anything, I'm your father since when I first created Pred's fan reaction videos 4 years ago, I invited you to watch every Preds game with me, win or lose. More often losses right now. God, I hate these theme nights. Preds lose 3-2 to the Ottawa Senators Saturday afternoon inside Bridgestone Arena. After the 3-game road trip in 8 days, where the Preds concluded a 3-game win streak in that span, this team continues to struggle to get anywhere close to a 600-700 win percentage and have now lost 2 games in a row. 25 games into the season now, barely a sniff above NHL 500. This much we know about this Preds team is they pretty much are what they are, a mediocre hockey team, but I will get more into what that means moving forward this season in the wrap-up of this Preds fan reaction. Preds have a home game before setting off on a 3-game road trip this upcoming week with one home game sandwiched in between. This game today you would think should be an easy win against an inferior opponent. It's Star Wars night if you didn't catch going into this game, and the Preds could sure use the Forsberg and help from the other high-paid players on this roster who are just not cutting it right now. Sens massively outshooting the Preds about halfway through the first period, but the Preds get a good chance by drawing the first power play. Shane Pinto high-sticking Philip Forsberg, and the Preds come close to converting early, but just can't get the puck past Cam Talbot. Preds playing with fire, about 5 minutes left to go in the first period, as Matthias Ekholm interferes with Tyler Mott, and Brady Tkachuk comes ever so close to putting the Sens, who are on their own dad's trip coming into Nashville. Of course, who wouldn't love to bring a parent to Nashville? But the Preds prevent the Sens from taking the lead early. First period concludes scoreless, Sens massively outshooting the Preds 14-8. Not what you want to see after your first home game after a road trip when you have only played really one game before this one in well over a week. More of the same through the first beginning part of the middle frame between these two lower echelon teams. Let's face it, they both pretty much suck and are struggling right now in the standings. Early highlight from the second period was a fight between former Pred Austin Watson and current Pred Jeremy Lauzon, and that fight drew cheers from the crowd. 30 seconds or so after that fight, Philip Forsberg gets called for interference with Tyler Mott, and the Sens come ever so close to taking a lead at that point, but the Preds deny them the opportunity. At almost the conclusion of Forsberg's penalty, Cole Smith and Roman Josi break out on a 2-on-1 shorthanded, and they come ever so close to giving the Preds the lead. God, this game is a game of inches sometimes. If that had gone in, maybe the game would have ended differently. Well, at least up to that point with the Preds recently, the penalty kill continues to be a success. Well, we would see differently later in this game. Preds power play would go 0 for 4 in this game, as the Preds can't gain any momentum with having the man advantage, which allows the Sens to just kill time off the clock, which I'm sure Drake Batherson didn't mind taking the penalty that he took. It would figure in a tight, seemingly game like this that it would take a weak goal to finally break through for either side, as Jankowski in the Sens zone gets it back to Yakov Trenin, who just lets a shot go at the Sens net, and it beats Cam Talbot, giving the Preds a 1-0 lead with about 3 minutes left to go in the second period. You would think 3 minutes or so left in the second period, Preds having a lead, that should be at least enough to get them through to the second intermission to cool off, right? Nope! This is where the fun begins. Under a minute left, just about the 30-second mark, the Preds get whistled. Oh my God, yes, it's everybody's favorite bench mismanagement of the players on the bench, and the Preds get called for too many men on the ice. And it wasn't even as if it was a close call that the refs could have avoided. Jeremy Lauzon was on the ice way too quick. And you know what? Why didn't he go and serve the penalty? You know, considering what would happen right after this to Jeremy, he should have been the one in the box, not Nino Niederreiter. He wasn't the one who jumped on too soon. Why am I saying in retrospect, Jeremy should have been in box instead of on the ice killing the penalty? Because right off the ensuing faceoff, Lazon gets hurt. He has to go to the bench because he's in pain. The refs don't call the play dead because they can't, because the Sens are attacking. So the Preds are down a defenseman. They're down 5-on-3, even though it's only a 5-on-4 power play. And before the clock can run out, oh yay, you've got Claude Giroux who ties it at 1. Preds outshot the Sens in that second period 12-11, but it doesn't matter because this game is tied at 1. Oh, and look at this. Things go from bad to worse to start the third. Not only is this Preds team already without Ryan McDonough for a while, you've got Lazon who gets hurt late in the second period. And also look, Alexander Carrier is not going to be able to return to this game. So the Preds are now playing with only 4 defensemen. Great. Just great. And things go from bad to worse about 4 minutes into the third period, where you've got Alex DeBrincat who sees Batherson cutting towards the net. He passes it to him, and it goes in the net. And you think at first, oh, did it find Batherson and go in? No, it went in off of Dante Fabro's stick into his own net. This isn't World Cup hockey when you're trying to avoid the own goal. Dante Fabro sends lead the Preds 2-1. Just after 7 minutes into the third period, a very eager, young Sens team, much like the Preds, as they are developing their younger guys into older, experienced players. Alex DeBrincat, who has just given the Sens the lead, he is a little bit too aggressive with Jordan. Gross takes his helmet off. That's a no-no, so that gets called for roughing. But before the Preds can really get anything going on the ensuing power play for themselves, a minute into it, you've got Philip Forsberg who takes a boarding call on Zaitsev. And yeah, was it borderline? Yes, but it was still close enough that I don't have a problem with it being called. But obviously, Forsberg is still a little steamed from the non-call on Lazon at the end of the second period, and so is Coach John Hines behind the Preds bench. Nothing the Preds can do now. They try to get a little aggressive shorthanded. Bad pass comes up the center ice. Batherson goes all the way down into the Preds zone on Saros, makes no mistake, and gives the Sens a 2-goal, 3-1 lead. A minute after that, though, the Preds come the other way with numbers. You've got Johansson to Yossi to Niederreiter, who, because the Preds learned from what they did in the second period, takes a shot from distance, and that's Cam Talbot's weakness. Beats him just over his glove. The Preds cut the Sens lead now down to 3-2. Maybe in other seasons before this one, this Preds team's knack for coming through in the clutch would work out, and this team would find some way to win this one. Maybe win in overtime. Maybe, probably win it in the shootout. But this season is different, and this team just doesn't have it. And under 5 minutes, just under 5 minutes left to go in regulation. Oh, look, it's Mr. I love to take stupid penalties late in regulation that kill any momentum and give the opponent a chance to tie the game or just ice it away. Matt Duchene and a high sticking penalty. Eric Brassard is behind Matt Duchene and gets his stick tied with him. Maybe it could have been called for tripping, but Matt Duchene allows himself to take a fall. He doesn't control his stick, which comes up and high sticks Brassard, makes him bleed. The refs can't let him get away with it and have to call for a double minor. So you've got the Preds down 1, under 5 minutes left to go in regulation, and they have to kill a 4-minute power play for the Sens. Really, Duchene, control your stick. I don't care. Have a firm two-hand grip on it so that when that happens, you're not going to hurt somebody else, hurting your team. Your stick can turn into a deadly weapon if you don't control it. That's no excuse to high stick a guy just because you lost your footing because you got tied up with him. The 4-minute power play allows the Sens to just play keep away from the Preds. The Sens keep possession in the Preds zone for almost the entirety of the 4-minute power play, but somehow the Preds escape it without a goal being scored against them. But unlike last week in New Jersey with the same thing of having very little time to get back to even strength and then get your goalie pulled to try and tie it, nope. Right when you think the Preds could have had an offensive zone faceoff, they take an icing call. Under 10 seconds left, a defensive zone faceoff for a team down by 1 is a terrible place on the ice to be at. Clock runs down. The Preds outshot the Sens in that third period, but only by a total of 9-8. Yeah, down a goal at home when you need to tie the game and you only get 9 shots in the third period. Absolutely pitiful. Final score in this one. Preds were even lucky to somehow be this close, but they lose this one 3-2. This certainly could wind up being one of those games come the end of the season that Preds fans look back on and think what might have been if we had gotten a W there and maybe gotten ourselves into a playoff spot if they do indeed miss come April. After winning and looking decent in a 3-game win streak, this team gives 2 games back into the loss column in regulation. In 2 games, they arguably had a chance to win both of them. You guys know me. You guys know I followed this team since 1998. Day 1. I may not be able to recall everything right away, but I'll know how to look it up quick. I know the trends. I know typically what cities this Preds team plays well in and what they don't do, and what teams they play head-to-head well in, no matter if it's in Nashville or on the road. The Preds are 12, 11, and 2 right now. Technically, that's not really over 500 through 25 games of the season. Guess how many of the 23 seasons, is this season 24 right now, guess how many of the 23 seasons prior to this one the Preds made the playoffs with this equivalent record or worse? 0. That's right, this team has never made the playoffs playing this bad, and yeah, this is sub 500 bad or worse and made the playoffs come April. Can this year's team overcome that and prove all the doubters wrong? Well, it's going to be tough. But you know, one thing that has to change come Monday to start to turn it around and maybe give this team a chance, that 0 for on the power play has to end. 0 for 4 tonight is not going to cut it. 2 for 15 on the power play in their last 6 games is not going to cut it. This team has 7 games before the Christmas break. 6 of those 7 are against teams in the West who are higher than you in the standings. If you want to give us any reasonable hope that things might be turning around for Christmas to try and boost you into the post-Christmas break into 2023 for maybe getting a playoff spot, of the 6 games against playoff teams, plus the one against Chicago that has no excuse not to win, even though it's in Chicago, of those 6 games against teams higher than you in the standings, you pretty much have to win 5 of the 6, and I don't want any shootout gimmick wins either. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really like it. You can find my social media by clicking on the channel name. Tell all your friends about Redemption. It's make or break week for the Preds. And Preds Nation, if things don't turn around this week, we should all be expecting coal in our stockings from the people at 501 Broadway.